Back here, first things first, talking Thunder Rockets in a wild finish to this one. 9 seconds left. Thunder down 1. Luguentz, Dort's shot blocked by. Is that James Harden? The same James Harden whose defense has been knocked his whole career? The same James Harden who had another miserable game on offense last night? Oh, yeah, that's James Harden. And that play sending the Rockets past the Thunder and on to round 2 for a matchup with LeBron and the Lakers. Rockets beat the Thunder. Here is James Harden and CP3 after the game.
Like, it's cool to, you know, get 40 or 50 points or be shooting the ball extremely well. Obviously, we all want to do that, but just to get recognition and for it to pay off, you know, when it counts on the defensive end and show that I've been engaged and locked in, for it to show in a clutch moment, it means a lot.
I know, man. It's a tough one. It's tough. We fought hard all year. Obviously, a lot of people doubted us, but we didn't doubt ourselves. We didn't give a damn about anybody's predictions going into any series. In any game, we expected to win. All right. And that's the way we played all season long. Every game, we expected to win. And so, yeah, that's a tough one.
And we are now joined by Chris Broussard. Broussard, what'd you make of that wild finish last night?
Some shocking stuff happened, obviously. The shocker is that Houston won with its defense. Now, I know they had been playing much better defense in the bubble, but they actually won a Game 7 playoff game against the team that had been the most clutch during the season with their defense. Now, some of this goes on OKC. All right, their execution was poor at the end of the game. That last play, why isn't Steven Adams your last resort going to the rim rather than coming to the three-point line? But the bottom line is I have to give Houston's defense credit. They locked them up. Chris Paul's lucky that the shot that Dort got blocked, Chris Paul's lucky that his ball pass wasn't stolen on the right wing before that. And they even were able to get this shot off. And I got to shout out James Harden. He was having yet another poor performance in a critical playoff game. And I got to say this to Nick. We'll see what happens down the line. But for the time being, Nick, you've got to stop saying he's the best player never to win a title, because he keeps coming up short offensively in these critical games. We'll see what he does years from now. But for the time being, you can't give him that title because this happens time and time again. But shout out to the Beard. He didn't get down on himself, and he made a great defensive play. So I'll give him props on that.
Okay, well, what he has in common with the other greatest players not to win a title is they typically haven't come up big in the biggest moments. That's why they don't have a title. It was Karl Malone who got the ball stolen from him by Jordan, his best chance to win it. It was Barkley who does not rotate on defense when Stockton hits the 3 when they had a chance to win a title. And that Game 6 against Jordan and the Bulls, it's Barkley's defensive lapse, and I love Chuck. So, but it is true. If they had lost last night, Broussard, it is a scarlet letter on Harden forever. The last 5 years they've been knocked out in the postseason. Some of those games Harden's played well. Some of them he's played poorly. But what they all had in common was 4 of those 5 you're against the Warriors. You weren't supposed to win those games. The one you weren't was the game against the Spurs when Harden was playing with a concussion and played terribly. But he was concussed. So they were justifiable. Losing last night with the way Harden played, it would have been the end of D'Antoni 100%. It might have been the end of my guy Daryl Morey. It might have been the end of small ball. They would have potentially shopped Russ. Who knows? Maybe if they do get rid of Daryl, they shop Harden. The butterfly effect, if they had lost that game, would have been massive across the league, which is why, Brandon, that block right now might have been the single biggest play of James Harden's career. I know it was in round 1. I know he's played in the finals. I know he's been in the Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. But if they lose that game, we are talking about Russ's meltdown in Game 6, Harden's meltdown in Game 7, and how do you run it back next year thinking you can beat the LA teams, that you can beat Denver, when you couldn't even get past an OKC team that everyone thought was rebuilding. So Harden there have been games, Brandon, where he plays great, but the Rockets lose elimination games, so we kill him. This one, he played really poorly, but they won thanks to that block. So in that regard, I don't want to say he gets a pass, but he made up for the first 47-50 in these final 10 seconds here, Brandon.
Yeah, Nick, winning the way they did, I can say we can also say that could be the reason they blow this whole thing up, because this is not the formula. They already doubled down on plan A being small ball, plan A being let's have everything run through James Harden. Let's let him dominate the basketball. He's not going to get his guys in play. He's not going to play defense. Let's not make this into every other show where everybody's praising Harden right now and saying, oh, this is the biggest play of his career. He got over the hump. This is not what we want to see out of Harden. We want to see Harden score 40, 50 points. He said, oh, yeah, I know it's cool. Everybody wants to score 40, 50 points. Yes, that's who you are. Double down on that. This is not this is not what's going to get you through this run. You're lucky that you actually won this Game 7 the way you did. So while if I am coach, I am going to Harden saying, Harden, be yourself, dominate the basketball, drive into the paint, force the refs to call a foul. This is not what I want to see out of Harden right now.
Yeah, you know, his shot wasn't going down, but the defense was great. He had 3 blocks. He had 2 in crunch time. And this whole year he was playing great. He led the league in steals. He was great in deflections. He had 100 loose balls. When you combine them up, look at who he's with. It's like Drew Holiday, James Harden, Chris Paul, and Ben Simmons. So his defense is great. Now, Game 7's, he's pretty horrible. Nick diagnosed him with a concussion. I don't know if that was official, but that was the game he scored 10 points, and they got blown out by about 40. Now, Broussard, I don't think that Rockets ownership has the Men in Black taser where they look around and like, we forgot about how this game ended, and we forgot about how poorly Harden played. If they go into this Lakers series and get smashed, I don't know if any of the horrible things in the rebuilding that Nick was talking about still don't happen.
Well, look, I've got the Lakers beating them in 5. I actually hope I'm wrong because I think this could be a good series. It's obviously full of superstars, and it should be exciting. But I just think the Lakers will take care of them pretty easily. But I don't get rid of Harden. You can't. I mean, he is that franchise right now. And I know it's a tremendous franchise. You get rid of James Harden, you're going all the way to the bottom. You're restarting. Yes, the probably could be gone. But I don't get rid of James Harden. But he's got to play differently. No. You're not going to win with one guy dominating the ball. Wilt couldn't do it. Jordan couldn't do it. LeBron couldn't do it. You're not winning a championship with one guy doing everything.
It's their only chance, Chris. It's their only chance. It's their only chance. They don't have no other option. They're not going. This is OKC. They went to Game 7 with OKC. But this is not the way. The way is James Harden has to score 40, 50 points.
Listen, Harden's got to score. For them to have any shot against the Lakers, Harden's going to have to average 35 for the series. But that's not out of the realm possibility because he averaged 35 for the last 2 years. But Russ, didn't play the first 4 games of this series and then wasn't a full go the last few. So what they also need is Russ to play well. They will, as long as Daryl is there, they have a 0% chance of trading James Harden. I will bet my life on that. So that's not going to happen. But Harden, of course, has to play better in these big moments. But I'm going to tell you someone else who does. I mean, Chris Paul, I want to describe someone to you real quick, Broussard. This guy came into the league in the mid-2000s, was never considered the best player in basketball, but multiple years was top 5, had a couple top 3 or 1 or 2 top 3 MVP finishes, yet has never been past the conference finals. I'll give you an added bonus. It's part of the Banana Boat crew. Who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about 2 people, Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul. Melo has been crushed at large over the last decade for what his career wasn't. Chris Paul, this year, everyone, I got him 3rd in the MVP this year, is giving him all the credit in the world, and he has earned it. However, if you're going to stare down James Harden in Game 6 and then subtweet him in a press conference and say, some guys are built for this, other guys aren't, You can't, in the final 3 minutes of that game, turn the ball over once, almost turn it over on the final possession, miss a shot, not be involved on the final play of the game. Like, that can't be how the season ends for him, Chris.
No, I hear you. I wouldn't put him in Carmelo's category as far as winning or losing. Remember, Nick, there have only been 3 small point guards to lead teams to championships. Steph, Isaiah Thomas, and Gus Williams in Seattle when they had a bunch of players on that team. So I don't kill Chris Paul for not winning the title. But you are right. After the last game, everyone was ready to say he's the greatest clutch player in the league. And I'm remembering back to, 2015 when he fell apart against Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
I'm remembering all those teams. I'm remembering the Game 7 against Utah. Was it 2 years ago when he struggled, or 3 years ago when he struggled with the Clippers? So he's had bad moments in the clutch as well. Remember I said he's got to be an aggressive scorer, look for a shot. He took, I think, 11 shots last night. I needed more from him. Wasn't terrible, but you're right. I needed more from Chris Paul last night.
All right, we got to take a break. Question for you, Broussard. It's rhetorical, so don't stress out. What happened to the East leading Bucks, who seem to be on pace to cruise to the finals? Is it panic time for Milwaukee? That's 2 questions, not 1. It's next. It's First Things First.
They ran in.